I want to tell you about the trip that reminded me why I live in this country. South Africa, it's amazing. And why some goodbyes don't feel like endings at all. Last week, Brian and I took the kids to Marloth Park and Kruger National Park, and Brian's brother Alan met us there. Brian's parents, Graham and Judy, lived in Marloth Park for more than 30 years. They moved there when they were one of the first properties in the residential game reserve. And yes, that's an amazing thing in South Africa. You can live with the animals on your doorstep. More to come shortly. Graham and Judy loved the bush, the animals, the conservation. It was their whole life. My mother-in-law was part of the Wildlife Trust Fund, and the initials are WTEF, and they walked around in WTF t-shirts and hats, very loudly displaying WTF, and every single time we saw those photos we giggled. But they were both very passionate about conservation, about protecting the area, about our whole family knowing about conservation. And so those were some of our favourite holidays. Both of them passed away last year, and neither of them wanted a formal funeral. They wanted a celebration. So this was the earliest that Brian's brother could fly out from Australia. And so this trip was to scatter their ashes and to allow the people who had known them in the Marloth area a chance to say a proper goodbye, but it was a celebration of their lives. There was no black, there were no formal readings. There was tea and snacks and people laughing about the same people from completely different decades of their lives. I made the decision on this trip to put my phone down and just be present. So what you're seeing is what I managed to capture in the moments I remembered to grab my phone and take a video or a photo. After the memorial, on Saturday we spent Sunday walking and driving the Fenceline between Marloth Park and the Kruger National Park. We visited spots that had deep meaning for the family and lots of memories. We stopped first and showed the kids the lookout point that Brian's father had played a part in creating, and we sprinkled some of their ashes there and shared some wonderful memories and some wonderful sightings. We watched the waterbuck across the river. The lookout point looks over the Crocodile River into the Kruger National Park, and it was an opportunity for the kids to just experience one of the places that their grandparents and their father and their uncle had spent quite a lot of time there. We then wandered along the fence. The kids and I walked most of the way. The two men drove in their car to get to the various different spots. We stopped at the bench that overlooked the river that was closest to their house when they lived in Marloth Park, and they would regularly walk up from the house with a couple of drinks and their binoculars and sit on the bench and watch the sunset and whatever came down to the river that day. And so we sat and had a moment just remembering it was a spot Brian and I had sat at numerous times in our trips to go and visit them. And it was a really beautiful time to reflect on all the joy that this area had brought them. We walked past their old house. They'd sold it during lockdown when they moved in with us. We weren't able to go inside, but it was nice to see the old house that had so many memories in it. We scattered their ashes in the places that they'd loved the most. It was a really special time, and we scattered the ashes in Marloth Park, and we took a family trip into Kruger National Park as well and scattered some ashes at some of the nicest places that they like to go there as well. Unfortunately, we couldn't get into Mlondozi picnic site. The recent floods had closed the road, and that one stung a little because that's where the scuttle breakfasts happened. That's the memory I had wanted to give my kids, but it wasn't on the cards this time, which means we'll have to go back. Marloth Park and Kruger National Park are two completely different experiences. Marloth Park is a residential game reserve. You're up close and personal. There's animals wandering through the properties. There are no fences between properties. And you have wildlife on your doorstep, including our gorgeous zebra, who came on a regular basis, and my daughter was absolutely thrilled with being able to feed the animals. You purchase the animal food in the local shop. We were very lucky to have kudu, bushbuck, warthog every day. The zebra came through a couple of different days. We also had bush babies and mongooses. So it was a really, really enjoyable experience. The zebra were definitely an early highlight. My daughter was absolutely enthralled. If you're wondering about the beep noses, yep, that really happened. They were right there with us the whole time. Kruger National Park, you are in your car and you are watching wildlife in their actual habitat. So you are kept separate. They certainly aren't tame or friendly or coming up for boop noses. But it's a really beautiful experience. And I was so grateful to be able to share this with my kids.
On Friday of the trip, I took the kids into the park and we were treated to some really cool bird sightings. We didn't have amazing sightings of the big animals, but we did get which is my husband's favorite bird, and close to the road. They were standing on the road, as you can see in this picture. And Ayla had on her list that she wanted to see a lilac-breasted roller. And not only did we see one, we saw multiple throughout our trip, but also so many were posing for beautiful photos, like the one shown here. Lilac-breasted rollers are about the most unicorn-coloured bird that you see in nature in South Africa, and so it was just very exciting for both of us to be able to see those. On Monday of our trip, we went into the park as a family. This was our opportunity to scatter ashes inside the park for my in-laws. We took two cars, and in the morning we drove in convoy. My son was with his uncle and Ayla was with us, and we really explored the park, had a lovely elephant encounter, saw some beautiful scenery, and we even got to see two male lions on a kill, which was really exciting. They were right close to the road, and seeing the big cats is always exciting. We went for lunch, and after lunch, the kids came with me, and the two boys went together in the car and scattered ashes and had a moment together. As we were heading home, this is what happened. A whole tower of giraffes just casually using our road, and we termed them the Conga line of giraffes. We sat and watched them, I don't know how long. You don't rush giraffes. Nobody complained, nobody fought. Everybody just enjoyed nature, enjoyed giraffes loping through their natural environment, which was a delightful and fun little moment. I didn't go to Kruger to have a breakthrough. I went to say goodbye to two people I cared about and to share a place that feels like home for so many in our family. But somewhere between the birds and the giraffe conga line and sunset, I remembered who I am when I'm not being everything to everyone. Being in nature is my happy place, and I forget that completely when I'm in the middle of normal life. Yes, I take moments to appreciate the garden and those sorts of things around me, but being in the wild of Africa truly is my happy place and where I fill my cup. I've lived and worked all over the world, but this is home. Nothing compares. There's a certain thing about Africa that just is incredibly special. When you take time for the things that actually fill your cup, everything becomes a little bit more manageable. The reflection just happens. You don't have to force it. You don't have to schedule time to reflect, which I know happens quite a lot. For me, being in the park was just a reminder of how happy I am when I'm in this space. The joy of Kruger, as I shared with my kids, was things like this, seeing this gorgeous, huge elephant bull just standing there completely unbothered by us, thankfully. Just witnessing their complete peace and happiness and sharing that with the children. Also, letting them see how quickly animals disappear into the African bush because we came past the same spot a little bit later and he was completely gone. Didn't know where he went. He was completely not visible from the road. Ayla's convinced that she spotted her cheetah. It was after sunset. My 49-year-old eyes were neither able to confirm nor deny that we saw a cheetah, but Ayla is holding on that she got all three of her big cats. We had a leopard and a cub on the Friday, the lions on Monday morning, and Ayla's convinced that at the cheetah sighting that everybody else could see the cheetah, that she saw the cheetah. And I got to watch my kids absolutely fascinated by a herd of elephants crossing the Sabi River, and I thought this is exactly what we came for. Graham and Judy passed this love of the bush to their sons. Brian and I made it ours, and now we're passing it to the kids. Carl, who's 12, and thought he was too old to be impressed by anything, and Ayla, who wants us to move to Marloth permanently. There were also mongooses. Carl's phone has the footage, mine does not. I was too busy watching my kids have their time of their lives to remember I had a camera. We'll be going back properly for longer. Brian said it on the drive home and I didn't argue. So here's my question for you. What's your version of this? What's the thing that fills your cup that you keep putting off? It doesn't have to be Kruger. It doesn't have to be big. It just has to be yours. Graham and Judy spent 30 years waking up to this. I think they were onto something. My 8-year-old wants us to move there permanently. I took this photo with the intention of painting it. I think that tells you everything you need to know about what those 2 days did for me. If this is something that you'd like to hear more about, I really would love it if you would subscribe. I'll see you again next week.